People often go about their daily business, be they king or just ordinary people in the street, whoever. Well, often what can happen to a lot of people is they're simply going about their daily lives. But with this, the sin is often becoming more and more manifest, let's say. And suddenly, quite out of the blue, there's this intervention, but not coming from the this realm, but coming from another realm. Now, these interveners, you might say, that have a way of crossing from that dimension to this dimension. Either they come in person, or even they even materialize. Come in person would be you're aware that this person, let's say, be they angel or other, is manifest, or you're aware of a form of a voice, though you don't hear a voice with your ears. It's not necessarily an audible voice speaking to your heart, speaking to your mind. And you may, in a sense, let's say, know they're over there, or over out there, or you can't quite place where they might be stood. Maybe they're hovering, let's say. And you do picture they're more in the sense that they're hovering rather than they are standing. But others have seen them standing, in that they are more manifest. Now, manifest in that you see with your eyes. You even, on occasions, you get people hear with their ears, but usually there's no audible voice. And the sense is that there's a cross from the spirit world into this world. There's an intervention. And with this, what is manifest really is the presence that they operate in and through. Now, it's interesting these days that you hear so many stories, and some of them are just stories, but even you hear or you get news of over even nuclear military installations and such. There's been some kind of intervention that they've seen what you might call a sphere of light travelling faster than the speed of sound, and able to turn corners faster than any craft on Earth. So there's that, and that of course is interesting, because the subject of conversation here is what you might call the watchers. Now, let's say watchers is a word. Now, you're talking about other people's personalities, people's. The word angel sort of doesn't always sum up the right pictures in people's minds, because they usually think in the fairy tale sense when you think of an angel, but they are, let's say, messengers. Now, when you look at the accounts of what you might call the watchers, those that are watching over the affairs of men, those who, let's say, their objective really is to keep things under wraps, let's say. Sin is often running rampant. Either it's in a person's life or it's in the life of a king. And of course, with Pilate, this was interesting, because Pilate's wife had a what you might call a visitation of sorts, in that she had a dream, and in that dream she was warned. She was warned to actually warn her husband to have nothing to do with that just man. Well, sin was very much manifest with Jesus. They were going to have him executed, and so Pilate was there presiding over the death or not of Jesus, and his wife having some kind of what you might call cross from that dimension into this dimension, with this coming to her as a dream. So they can speak to you, let's say, in your mind through a dream, or they can speak to you as in a form of a voice, though you don't hear the words. You would know what they're saying purely by the strength of feeling. You know what they're let's say, talking about. What's manifest is often the case of the indignation, even because sin is on the table, and they, in this same sense, would be pointing to the sin and saying, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go that far with this, because this is getting out of hand. This needs to be stopped. So it comes as a form of a warning, as it did to Pilate's wife. Well, there are many accounts in the Bible of such things, and on one occasion it calls them watchers, and you might say on other occasions they are indeed watchers, but it doesn't use the word watchers. Watchers would be, they clearly are like God's cops. In that they are watching over the affairs of man. And when you read stories, let's say, they could be just stories, you don't know, of over even military installations, they've seen, let's say, dots or spheres in the skies, and these spheres moving faster than the speed of sound and able to turn corners, which any other craft on Earth, should it turn a corner at such speed, it would just simply disintegrate in the skies, because it couldn't simply turn that fast. It has to turn in a more curved manner at such speed over a great distance to meet such a turning, and to eventually turn would take minutes of time. So they can turn, you read of these, and they turn suddenly, just like that. So they're clearly, they appear to have been trapped by radar. So you think, well, maybe they're hovering, in a sense, kind of crossing from one dimension to another. They can clearly hang in between, let's say, you wonder sometimes. They can clearly affect matter here, in that they can manifest, in that they can be solid, let's say, solid to touch. They can even eat if they choose. And there are accounts of the same in the scriptures. So, but let's go with let's get this phlegm out of my lungs, in my throat. Maybe I can speak more clearly. A glass of water, a cup of water, a steel cup of water, stainless steel cup of water might help. So let's go with that in mind, the watchers, God's cops. Many have committed crimes on this earth, and the police, really the powers that be, are ordained of God, because the police are, in a sense, though the police aren't always necessarily good people, they are God's appointed. The powers that be are ordained of God. There is no power but of God. It's let every soul be subject to the high power. So God sets these governments up, or allows these governments to come into power on earth to keep some sort of order. If there wasn't these cops on earth, physical cops, then sin would run rampant. Let's face it, whether you're anti law and order or whether you're pro law and order, you have to draw the line somewhere, and there has to be law and order. And it so happens the powers that be are ordained of God, and so God allows these various powers to come to power to keep some kind of order, or sin would run rampant. So you have these cops on earth.